Hi friends, welcome back. This is the second class of the data function, and today we will cover what if analysis. Right? So what if analysis, again if you go to the data tab, you see this command here called what if analysis, within which we have certain different functions. We will also cover the data table today. Yeah, so we'll cover goal seek, we'll cover data table, and we'll cover something called solver. We'll see what is the solver and how to add that as an add-in. Okay, so let's start with the goal seek function. As the name specifies, a goal seek function is a very simple function in Excel. What it will do is you give it a goal, okay, and it will seek that goal for you by changing the specified cells. Okay, what do I mean by this? Let's understand with this with an example. Again, this is an P&L extract. So we have the net sales, cost of sales, gross profit. Okay, we have the various expenses, operating profit. I subtract my taxes and I get my net income, and finally I get my net margin, which is my net income divided by the sales. Okay. Now let's say admin has a problem. Okay, I mean that the management of the company, they want to see that if I want to increase my net income to 30%, okay, by what should be my marketing expenses? Right now the marketing expense is 25. What should be my new marketing expense if I want to increase my net income to 30%? Okay, so before goal seek, we can work on the goal seek and see how it works. We need to remember one thing very clearly, that this data has to be linked. Okay, so whatever ultimate output you want and whatever cell you want to change, like in this case we want to see the effect of the marketing, so you have to make sure that your marketing cell is linked to the net income, okay, directly or indirectly, otherwise it will not work, right? So if I say, for example, if I work my marketing data here, you see that my net income does changes, so that link has to be there. Okay, otherwise the goal seek function will not be able to work. So let's see how do we use this goal seek function to achieve our objective, that to calculate my marketing expenses so that my net income is 30%. Again, I go to my data tab, I go to what if analysis, and I click on goal seek. Clear? A dialog box appears. It says set cell. So which cell you want to set? I say net income. So this is my ultimate cell. To what value? I say 30%. That is my ultimate value which I am looking for by changing cell. So by changing which cell? By changing my marketing expense cell. Right? So simply I need to give it 3 output. Which cell do I want to set, to what value, and by changing which cell, and I say OK. Right? So you see that Excel gives you an output. So it says target value was 30%, current value is also 30%. So your goal has been seeked, it has been achieved. Goal seeking with cell B11 found a solution. So what is my solution? That my marketing expense, which was earlier 25, has now changed to 10, and my net margin has increased to 30%. So it's up to you whether you want to keep this solution or not. If you press cancel, you will get your original data. Okay, if you press OK, your data will be restored to what you want. So you say 30%, okay, by changing cell this, and you say OK, right? So you say that, you see that your net income has changed to 30%, while your marketing expense has been recalculated as 10 instead of 25, right? Okay, now this is one limitation I find with the goal seek function, is that it changes your original data, right? So make sure when you are working on goal seek, you somewhere retain your original data as well, otherwise it will be lost. Okay, I can of course press Ctrl Z and bring back my original data in case of goal seek. Clear? So this is a simple function, a goal seek, how it works. Now many times we have more than one variable, okay, or we need to work on a complex situation. Like if you remember, or if you have studied earlier, there's something called linear regressions and calculations and all, right? So we have 2-3 variables, 2-3 constants, and then we want to achieve certain objective, right? So similarly in Excel we have something called solver. Okay, so first of all you see that a solver is a part of my data tab, but you see currently it's not existing here, right? So if I want to add a solver command to my data tab, this is how I do it. I click on file. Okay guys, please follow me. Go to option button, okay, and click on add-ins. Okay, the moment you click on add-ins, this window will open up, in which there is something called manage Excel add-ins, and you click on go. right? You see this solver add-in button is already there. It's just unselected. You have to select it and you say OK. The more you click on OK, okay, you see that this solver command comes here in your data tab itself. Clear? Okay, so once again what you need to do is you click on file, go to option, okay, click on add-ins, click on Excel add-ins, okay, and just select the solver add-in and press OK. Clear? So it's already there. Solver is now added. So let's see how does the solver button works. Okay, before I explain you how does the solver command works, taking this example and a further example, let me explain you this problem. It's a very small problem. This is a problem with respect to a bank. Okay, so in bank there is something called a base rate. So based on your base rate, your bank determines what should be the deposit rate. That is, what is the rate which it will give to its customer who deposit money with the bank, and what is the loan rate. That is, how much interest will the bank charge to the people who are taking loan from the bank. Okay, so you can see that both my deposit rate and my loan rate is a function of my base rate, right? Similarly, how much see, if I increase my base rate, okay, my deposit rate will also increase. The more the deposit rate, that is the more the interest you give to your customer, the more will be the amount of deposit, right? So if I, let's say, increase it to 13, you see that my deposit amount also increases. Clear? Similarly, if I increase my deposit rate, okay, the people who are taking loans from me will also increase. Okay, fine. So I have just created a random function. It's not it is not theoretical or anything. It is just a random function. So I have used range. So I'm saying that if my interest rate, okay, if is greater than 13%, my deposit rate will be somewhere between 13 and 15. So I've just created a rand between function to create this formula. What's important here is how to use it, how to maximize my profit. So what will be my profit ultimately? The interest I am earning from my loan amount, that is 6% into 13.5%, okay, in this example, minus the interest which I am paying to my customers. Okay, and again, this deposits and loans are in billion, while my annual income will be in million. So I am doing it 10 to the power of 3. Clear? So now again, the management is currently bothered that with this current base rate, okay, my annual income is negative. It's minus 70 million, right? So what should be my base rate so that my profit is maximized? Okay, given the function, that given the relation between the base rate and the deposit amounts and the loan amount. Clear? Okay, so I will take the help of the solver command in Excel to solve this function for me. Okay, there is one constraint here in this case, that your base rate has to be greater than 9% and has to be lower than 15%. Okay, just remember this. Okay, so I click on solver, okay, and this dialog box appear. So it says set objective. Okay, let me just scroll up my screen. Yeah, it says set objective. So what is my objective cell? This is my objective cell. To maximum, of course maximum, because I want to maximize my profit. Okay, in case it was a loss or it was a cost example, I would have sorted to minimum. Okay, it says by changing variable cell. So which cell do I want to change here? The base rate. Okay, because that's the question, that what should be my base rate. Okay, it says subject to the constraint, right? So there are some, let me just delete this. Okay, or I could have used, since it's some pre-selected, I could have used the reset button. Yeah, reset all. Okay, so let me again select the objective cell. So my objective cell is this, which should be maximized by changing variable cell base rate. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about the constraint. So what is my first constraint? That the base rate, okay, should be less than or equal to 15%. Okay, I click here and I say, sorry, I have to select this cell, 15%. Okay, so my base rate should be less than or equal to 15%. I add second constraint, that my base rate should be, okay, I select greater than equal to and I give 9%. So it has to be greater than equal to 9% and less than or equal to 15%. These are the only two constraints I have in this case, right? Rest all will be calculated by the Excel. Okay, select a solving method. This is something you need not worry about. Okay, and you click on solve, right? Okay, so it's still giving you a loss. Okay, so it now Excel is giving an option whether you want to retain the solver solution or you want to restore your original value. I say keep solver solution and I press OK. Right. So you see that at a base rate of 10.2, my deposit amount has changed to 10, my loan amount has changed to 7. This is just because of the rand between formula, don't worry about it much. Okay, and you see that my profit, which was earlier minus 70, has now increased to 137 by changing my base rate somewhere between 9 to 15% as constrained by me. Right, so this is how a simple solver function can be used by you to solve complicated problem which is not otherwise possible with a manual calculation. Clear? So otherwise what you will have to do is, go and check at each base rate what is my profit and try and maximize it. Clear, guys? Let's look at another example, and this is my favorite example for the solver function. Okay, when we have to decide the product mix. So what do I mean by product mix is that I want to decide how much of, let's say a company is producing 3 product A, B and C. This is the profit per unit of the product, 100, 350 per unit. Now ideally I can sell as much unit as I want to maximize my profit, but the constraint here is that my total capital expenditure which I can do is 93,000. Okay, and my total storage cost is 101. That is the maximum budget I have. Okay, and here I have been given the cost per unit for each of the product, that is the capital cost per unit. So as I increase my product sold, my capital cost will also increase. Okay, similarly my storage cost per unit is there. So as I increase my product, my storage cost will also increase, right? So it's not that I can increase it to the indefinite amount. So these are my two constraints, that my capital expenditure cannot be greater than 93,000 and my storage cost cannot be greater than 101. So based on this constraint, based on this functionality, I want to calculate my total profit, right? So you see that I have linked a formula to my profit. My formula is very simple, that the number of units sold for each of the product into profit per unit of each of this order sold. Clear? What is my formula for total cost? Number of units sold. Okay, as you can see, I am using a sum product for number of units sold. Okay, this cell, which will be my variable cell in our case, into cost per unit, capital cost per unit. Okay, and I have used a similar formula for the storage cost also. Clear? So now let's see and analyze how do we take help of solver to maximize my profit. Again, I click on solver. I first click on reset all. Okay. So what is my objective? This is my objective cell. That is my total profit. What do I want to do? I want to maximize it by changing cell. Here I will select multiple cell, right? Because I want all these 3 cells to be changed simultaneously to maximize my profit. Clear? Now let's talk about the constraint. So what is my first constraint? That my capital cost, which is calculated here, it should be less than or equal to the maximum budget I have for the capital cost. Okay, what is my second constraint? That my storage cost should be less than or equal to the maximum budget I have for the storage cost. Okay, if you want, you can add third restriction, is that each of this cell, okay, has to be greater than or equal to 1. At least you have to sell 1 unit of this product, or you can say, let's say 20. So you have to sell at least minimum 20 units for each of this product. Okay, so you can give this constant if you want to. You click OK and you click on solve. Okay, so again Excel says that it has solved the problem for you. You want to retain the solution or you want to restore back to the original value. I say keep solver solution and I press OK. So you see that my profit has increased. Okay, the number of units which I will sell for each of this has changed. Okay, so it will be 62. Let me just round it off rather than giving such weird number. Okay, so 62 units of product A, 60 units of product B, and the minimum required, there is 20 units of product C. This will maximize my profit to 25,200 and it's still meeting our restriction. The capital cost is maximum, it is utilizing 93,000. Even the storage cost has been utilized to the maximum extent. Clear? So this is another example where we can take help of solver function to maximize our profit, right? Okay, let's move to the third and the last aspect of this what if analysis, that is our data table. Okay, fine. Now what is this data table? Let's see. First let's take a simple example to understand how does this data table works, and then we'll take a working application of this function. Okay, so let's say I have a price of a product, I have the volume sold, and I calculate the total revenue, which is nothing but price into volume. Makes sense, right? Now I want to see that what will be my total revenue, okay, if I change my price and if I change my volume, right? So my price can range between 10 to 15 as I have created here, and my volume can range between 12 to 21. Okay, how did I created this table? It's very simple. You are aware of the merge function, merge cell function, which you have done in our basic formatting class. You're also aware of how to change the text orientation. So you press Ctrl 1, okay, you go to alignment and you change the text orientation to 90° here, right? So this will change it to vertical rather than seeing the text horizontally, right? And I write the data here. You always have to remember one thing when you are creating a data table like this, is that your data has to be hard coded. It cannot be linked to the original value. Please do not link this data or this data range to the original value, okay? Otherwise Excel will not work. Clear? And whichever cell is there between the intersection of these two rows and column, okay, that cell has to be linked to your final output. Okay, why you are not able to view this cell? Because I have changed the font color to white. Clear? Okay, so once again you create a table like this, in which you create a range for first variable, that is price. You create a range for the second variable, which is volume. Range can be selected by you. There is no problem anyway. You can select it in decimal, you can select it up to any range or any width you want to. Clear? Whatever cell is there at the intersection of this array and this array, this has to be linked to your final output which you want in your data table, right? So here I want to see the effect of the change in volume and prices to my revenue. So my revenue is my ultimate output, so this will be at the intersection. This cell has to be linked. Okay, I select this entire range. Okay, just select this range, go to data tab, go to what if analysis and click on data table. Okay, again a very simple dialog box. Excel is just asking you for two input. First is the row input, that is the input which is there in the row. So my row input is price, so I link it to the price. Clear? Then Excel is asking me for the column input. My column input is volume, and I link it to volume and I say okay. Right? You see that the entire table has been filled for me by changing simultaneously the price and the volume for each of the options. Clear? So I can check my original data, that is at price 12 and at volume 15 my revenue was 180. So I am sure that this data table is correct. Okay, so now let's see what will happen. How does Excel makes this work is, see, we have linked this row input, okay, which is my row input here, to the price. So what will Excel do is, it will go take 10, make this variable 10, it will take a price of 12, change it to 12 and give me the output, right? Now it will change the volume to 14, give me the output, then 15 and give me the output, and so on and so forth. Now at the second time it will change the price to 11, now make changes for each of the volume and give you this column, and so on and so forth. Of course it's seamless for you, but this is how at the back end Excel will do your calculation, and hence it's very important that this value is linked to your variable cell and this value is also linked to the final output which you want to see in your data table, right? So what is the use of this data table? The use is to see the sensitivity of the variable. You can only give two variable at a time. You can also choose one variable or two variable, but maximum two. So you want to see the sensitivity of your input variable to your output. In this case my input variable was price and volume and my output variable was revenue. So I want to see how sensitive my revenue is to my price and input. So this is my ultimate range. So my minimum revenue can be 120 and my maximum revenue will be 315, and in between whatever ranges I can see here. Clear? And hence this data table is also called sensitivity table, right? So whenever you hear the word sensitivity table from your boss or manager next time, please make sure that you know how to do it, and this is how we do it. Clear? So this is how a data table works. Now let's see another example to understand the application of this function. Okay, the application is again straight away you have to create a data table, but in what practical scenario it will be applicable? Let's see an example. Okay, now let's talk about the EMI amount which you have to pay. Okay, so this is the loan amount which you have taken, that is 50 lakh. Okay, this is my interest rate 10%, this is my tenure 15%, and I use an Excel function called PMT. Again, don't bother about it. Once we cover the financial function class, you will be able to see what is this PMT function. For the time being, just remember this PMT function helps you to calculate the EMI amount. So using this function I have calculated the EMI amount. Of course the EMI amount will vary depending upon your rate, interest rate, and depending upon your tenure, right? So I want to see what is the sensitivity of my EMI is to my change in the interest rate and my tenure, right? So as I want my final output to be my EMI, I link this cell to the EMI cell. Okay, I change the font color to white so I'm not able to see it. I select this entire data table. Don't select this previous two column. That's not a part of your data table. That's just for your reference. Select this entire data table. Okay, go to data, what if analysis, data table. What is there in the row input? My interest rate. What is there in the column input? My tenure. Okay, and I click OK and I get my EMI, right? So now I know that if my interest rate changes to 8% and if my tenure is 15 years, my EMI will be 47783 instead of 53730. Okay, again, if my interest rate is 13% and my tenure is 10, okay, my EMI will be maximum, that is 74655. So I can see what could be the minimum or the maximum EMI I am supposed to pay for this particular loan I have taken. Clear? This is one application of the data table. Again, those who are in the valuation industry or those who are in the equity research or finance profile, okay, this data table is very, very useful when you are doing the valuation of a company, right? So by your experience, you are aware that your ultimate valuation or the share price when you are using DCF valuation especially is dependent on two strong factor. One is your WACC, okay, that is your cost of capital, and the second will be your terminal growth rate, right? So again, you can see the sensitivity of your share price, your expected share price, okay, to the two variable WACC and the terminal growth rate, right? So again, you can create a data table there and you can show that your price is sensitive to these two factor by this much percentage. Okay, you can also create a percentage here if you want, right? So you can create a percentage change with respect to your base value. Okay, so this divided by this minus 1. Clear? So again, you can create a table like this for your percentage change in the value from the base value, showing the sensitivity data again. Clear? So the maximum variability in the EMI will be 39% from the current value which you are expecting, right? So this is some of the application and the usability of the data function. Of course, a very simple tool to use, but at times very, very useful, right? So this is what we have in the data analysis. In the next class, we will cover the data validation, which is again a very, very useful function for the people working on the data inputs and forms, etc. And then we will close the data class with the other data function like consolidation and subtotal grouping, etc. Right? Okay, guys, have a nice day ahead. See you in the next class. Thank you.